Guten Tag. My name is William Fliss. I am the Tolkien archivist at Marquette University in the city of Milwaukee in the United States. Milwaukee has a population of around 600,000 people and is located 150 kilometers north of Chicago. Milwaukee has the reputation of being the most German of the major American cities. In 1900, almost half of the city's population had been born in Germany or their parents were born in Germany. Milwaukee's German heritage can still be seen today. Marquette University was founded in 1881 by German Jesuits. It is named after the French Jesuit Père Marquette, who was the first European to explore the northern Mississippi River Valley. Marquette University owns the largest collection of Tolkien manuscripts outside of the Bodleian libraries at Oxford University. Marquette purchased these manuscripts directly from Professor Tolkien in 1957. It owns the manuscripts for The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, Farmer Giles of Ham, and Mr. Bliss. These manuscripts are the heart of the J.R.R. Tolkien collection at Marquette. The collection also seeks to document the phenomenon of Tolkien fandom, and this is what I want to talk to you about today. I want to tell you about the J.R.R. Tolkien Fandom Oral History collection that I'm building for Marquette. And I want to invite you to contribute an interview to the collection. If not for the COVID-19 pandemic, I would have been present at Tolkien Tage in person to collect interviews. Instead, I must send you this video. Like most everyone else, I have been at home for the past 3 months. What is the Tolkien Fandom Oral History collection? It consists of brief interviews, up to 3 minutes in length, collected from Tolkien fans. I understand that the word fan may hold a negative meaning for some people in Europe. I have heard that it is a word associated with football hooliganism. Here I define fan simply as anybody who is an admirer of the works of J.R.R. Tolkien and wishes to share their story. How does this work? The collection consists of sound recordings. You state your name, your age, and where you are from, and then respond to 3 basic questions. When did you first encounter the works of J.R.R. Tolkien? Why are you a Tolkien fan? What, if anything, has he meant to you? Each fan has a total of 3 minutes to respond. The 3 minutes are entirely your own to share what you wish, guided by the basic questions. Very simple. I welcome every interview I can get. Many of you speak English, but if you prefer to give your interview in your native language, you are welcome to do so. Before I tell you more about the collection and how you can contribute, I want to share a little of the collection with you. Here is a compilation of some excerpts taken from interviews so far.
I first read The Hobbit in 1964 when I was 14 years old, and my brother brought it back from college.
My first experience with Tolkien, I was in 3rd grade, so this would have been 1980.
I'm 42. I didn't read Tolkien when I was a child, but I first encountered him when the first movie, The Fellowship of the Ring, came out.
I'm 54 and I'm from New Zealand. I first read The Hobbit when I was age 7 and Lord of the Rings about 11. And since then I've probably read it yearly, thereabouts.
As long as I can remember, I've known about Tolkien because of the Peter Jackson movies. I must have seen them when I was like 4 or 5. So I've always been a Tolkien fan.
Originally from Croydon in South London, England, I first encountered the works of Tolkien through my mum. I think she maybe felt that I was not spending enough time reading or something like that, so she decided that I ought to read The Hobbit.
I come from China. I'm 28 years old this August. I first came across Tolkien, I think just sort of a bookseller recommended it to me, and I got the whole set for Chinese translation at the age of 11 or 12, and I immediately read The Hobbit, and I liked it.
I think there's something about Tolkien that's very much inexplicable, but I think fundamentally it's probably just very good story.
Well, I'm also a child of the 60s, and if you were of a certain mind bend in the 60s, Tolkien had its own built-in appeal, right? Because it was kind of against the military-industrial complex.
I'm Catholic, so I was thrilled to find out he was Catholic, because then I thought, why is this resonating so much with me? And then after I read the letters of J.R.R. Tolkien, I understood it better. I thought, okay, this is why.
As a Eagle Scout, I knew a lot about hiking and backpacking, and so that element of The Lord of the Rings, the Nine Walkers, was immediately appealing. Tolkien's love of nature, of trees in particular, I found appealing.
He provides a worldview. It's an ecological thing, it's spiritual, and it has depth.
Even when I became a feminist, I still was a fan. Loved him anyway.
And I still find meaning in him when I reread the stories.
Fantasy and recovery and escape and consolation, not to escape from the world, but to get perspective on the world. So traveling with the Fellowship in Middle-earth is a way to step aside and think about what's going on in my own life, never again setting aside completely reality, but just giving some perspective, and so that's been important to me.
Talking about our favourite characters, but as I've grown older, I've really begun to appreciate more the ethos of what Tolkien was creating, the kind of world he was creating, the nobility, the beauty of that world, and of the vision of life that it presents.
I can't overstate what Tolkien's writings have meant to me.
It's been really important to me. He's gotten me through like all of the bad things that can possibly happen in someone's life as far as I'm concerned. He's gotten me through death, he's gotten me through feeling completely powerless.
You can't really see a tree the same way after reading Tolkien.
Tolkien has been my way to build community every time I've moved. And I've moved to 5 different states. I went to at least 8 or 9 different public schools.
He has drawn me into languages. I ended up getting a PhD in Anglo-American French and Chinese.
For me, it was kind of long-term relationship that we've got, me and J.R.R. So what he really meant to me also changed. Initially, it was when I was a teenager. It was basically one of the books that formed me in a way. Later on, it became more intellectual of sort.
He sort of fed my curiosity in terms of languages. And he's the main motivation for me to learn English.
Between Dungeons & Dragons and Tolkien, those are the two things that made, now going on 40-year friendships in some cases. And it's just been an extraordinary part of my life, and I don't know where I would be without it.
So part of their influence for me has been what's important in life: friends, family, friendship, love, which comes through very strongly. Riches, gold, those sorts of things don't really mean much.
I have just loved it. It has shaped me. I love being outdoors because of it. I run because Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas could run 40 leagues and 5. I love food and parties and dancing even more because of it. I try to be dutiful like Frodo. I try to be cheery like Samwise. It has molded me, comforted me, and has made me happy beyond expression.
I am building the Tolkien Fandom oral history collection around the concept of a muster. I am trying to muster a great host of Tolkien fans. My goal is to collect 6,000 interviews. In The Lord of the Rings, that was the number of riders of Rohan that King Theoden mustered and led to Gondor to raise the siege of the city of Minas Tirith. My goal, then, is to find one fan for each of the 6,000 riders of Rohan. I hope that you will consider becoming one of those riders. So what happens to the interviews? Each sound recording and a transcription of it is uploaded to a digital site where visitors can listen to the recording as if it was a short podcast, or else read the written transcript of the interview. The transcripts allow visitors to keyboard search across all of the interviews. To simulate the muster, I am organizing the interviews into Eoreds, or companies of 120 fans. As each Eored of interviews is complete, the company joins the host. Each fan that wishes to participate must sign a donor agreement form. In effect, you are giving your interview to Marquette as a gift. Fans remain anonymous. I do not publish personal names on the collection website, and I do not publish any personal contact information. All of the excerpts I shared a moment ago were in English. If you feel more comfortable giving your interview in your native language, please do so. Several fans have already volunteered to translate interviews for me into English. I am collecting the interviews using Zoom video conferencing. If you decide to participate, there are two options available. One is to claim a pre-scheduled time slot. Each month, I schedule slots online that fans can reserve to give their interview. Look for a link from the Tolkien Tage organizers to find the calendar where you can reserve your slot. The interview times appear in Milwaukee time. You will need to figure out the time zone difference. That is one option. The second option is simply to email me directly. We can work together to figure out the time zone difference and decide upon a time that fits both of our schedules. Now let me tell you briefly about the collection. So far, I have collected 424 interviews. I have a long way to go before reaching 6,000, so I need you to come to my aid. Of the interviews collected so far, there are slightly more interviews from women than men. Fans from 34 countries are represented in the collection right now, but the United States accounts for 74% of these interviews, which means I need more voices from outside the United States. The oldest fan so far is 87 years old. The youngest is 8 years old. I do accept interviews from children and adolescents, but a parent or guardian must sign the donor agreement form on their behalf. Also, I will not publish the child's recording or transcript online until the year of their 18th birthday. I want to say something now about why I am building this collection for Marquette. What is the point of it? On one level, I want to capture stories that might otherwise be lost. I wish to build an enduring record of how individual fans have connected to Tolkien. This collection will exist long after you and I are gone. On another level, I hope to contribute to scholarship being done on Tolkien Fandom. Fan studies is a growing area of scholarship, and I hope that some researchers will find the collection useful. To that end, I am also making the collection information available as a data set that can be downloaded for free from Marquette's institutional repository. I hope that scholars will ask questions of this data. For example, what patterns or themes emerge across all of the interviews? Are there national or regional variations in people's connections with Tolkien? Does age or gender make a difference in how people respond to these questions? What impact did the Peter Jackson films have on Tolkien fandom? I hope that this collection encourages people to ask their own questions and to seek answers in the data. In closing, let me say that I love listening to people share their stories with me. With this collection, I believe that I have tapped into something rich and powerful. In these interviews, we encounter intense joy and sorrow, stories of finding the love of one's life, of passionate inquiry and self-discovery, of overcoming obstacles, of finding the way out of darkness into light. We find friendship, we find hope. We see the importance of family and the impact that parents and teachers can have on a child's life. The Tolkien Fandom Oral History Collection at Marquette reveals how J.R.R. Tolkien, dead now for nearly half a century, has been alive in so many individual human journeys. How he and his secondary world of Arda have accompanied fans on the road that goes ever on and on. I hope you will join the muster. I thank you very much for your attention. Namarie.